Tanks are one of the most popular reasons why newer players fail a wave. Yeah, as far as mechanics go, your only worry is getting smushed to death by janky collisions, but they universally siphon 5 figures worth of damage that could be going towards oncoming threats. If that damage gets diluted too heavily, it'll be your team's undoing. That's why I'm gonna get all of you caught up with a degree in Bustonomics to make sure that all of your tank woes can be permanently resolved. That means we're going over each class and laying out their best tools for avoiding that dreaded blue text. In the context of MvM, there are too many variables at play to make this a pure DPS comparison, so take this as more of a generalized guideline. My goal is to give you 10 minutes for the next 10 years, or however long this game keeps going. Starting off with Scout, he usually doesn't tend to focus too much on the tank. It's not that he can't burn them down efficiently. In fact, he's one of the best in the game when fully upgraded. He's just already spinning half a dozen plates as is, and unless you're on a very experienced team, that balancing act tends to fall apart rather quickly. And that's ignoring the fact that shaving down Scout's resistances in exchange for extra firepower comes with harsh growing pains that many players don't want to endure. If you are one for the bigger numbers, however, the Soda Popper is king, at least in the early and middle waves. Once you cross the 4,000 credit threshold, the shortstop is able to reach its maximum damage potential, which technically has the highest DPS of them all. But what you may not know is that Valve gave Mr. Poppin some under-the-table steroids. And by doing the ghost upgrade shown off in this video, the Soda Popper puts its ass right back on the throne. Speaking of ass, you're gonna want to glue yourself to the tanks and give them an impromptu prostate exam. The closer you are, the more damage you'll do. Though a friendly reminder that crit and mini crits don't have any damage fall off, so you can round up those credits while shooting from mid-range without any kind of damage penalty. You still have giants to mark, money to chase, and milk that needs chucking, but when all of those are taken care of, a properly upgraded Scout can put in a lot of work. Soldier is kinda similar to Scout. He has a clear-cut best option for the first 2/3 of the game, but on later waves, the playing field tends to even itself out. I'm of course referring to the Beggar's Bazooka. It's cheap to upgrade, has a bottomless clip, and a hitbox this big doesn't care about a 3% deviation. Pair this with the buff banner, and you can solo any tank without issue. But you might be surprised to learn that the Beggar's technically gets outclassed by another option: Minecraft. Max out the swing speed, blow yourself up to near oblivion, pop the buff banner on cooldown, and start whacking. This may be an efficiency 5 pickaxe, but it's balanced by a deficiency 50 rocket launcher. So regardless of its better tank busting, this one usually isn't worth the trouble. But you know what is? The airstrike. Specifically in the late game. At around 5,000 credits worth of rocket launcher upgrades, this is where it starts to contend with the Beggars, as it can spew out 16 crit rockets when fully upgraded, compared to the Beggars' maximum of 11. It's really good, but unfortunately the Beggars will still generally reign superior, as those extra crit rockets don't make up for the constant reloading. At least on its own. If you combine the airstrike with a potluck of max clip size, 4 kills, an ammo canteen, the base jumper, and a medic's Kritzkrieg or canteen specialist upgrade, the airstrike will... Oh god. I said tank bust, not tank bukkake. That is 32 crit rockets being shot at light speed, enough to burn down most tanks within a 5-second interval. If you got a medic that's communicative, willing to pocket you, and buys the canteen specialist upgrade, once you have 5,000 credits to work with, this is the way to go. But that situation's enough of a rarity to where you'll probably be rocking the Beggars 99% of the time. Either way, Soldier's one of the best in the game. For Pyro, just use the Flog. You have a lot of people out there trying, and failing, to make the case that the Dragon's Fury is the best primary for this cause. They're wrong. It doesn't matter the wave, it doesn't matter the mission, crit canteens or not, the Flog is always the best option. All things considered, I believe Pyro to be the game's best tank buster. His combination of power, flexibility, and cheapness to upgrade make him the best for wave-specific counterpicks. And that's largely down to the fact that his strategy is both simple and uniform. Use your crits whenever they're off cooldown, but also keep looking upwards towards the top of the tank. This allows for each of your flame particles to hit twice, increasing your damage and decreasing your meter's charge time. That's all there is to it. If you really want to get fancy, you can cancel the Flog's taunt on the tank's rear by using jump height upgrades and an elevated surface, but given the shaky reliability of your average MvM Pyro, I don't think we need to add caviar to our cheese and crackers here. Pyro is low maintenance, but high efficiency, the best combination you can have. Demo in the early days was touted as being one of the game's best tank busters. At the time, the logic did make sense. Given the lack of optimization, the absence of infinite refunds, and the standard team compositions at the time, Demo was sorta crowned prince by default. He's still collecting residuals from that era to this very day, and, well, I don't think it's all that warranted. Fact is, Demo Man is fine, but the age-old failsafe of a soldier Demo tank-busting tag team is pretty outdated. There are better options is all I'm trying to say. For example, Demo Knight. If you've seen Art of the Subclass 3 over here, you probably already know what I'm talking about. Use the Skull Cutter, max out the damage, attack speed, and crit on kill for good measure. This'll put in more work than any of the Demo's traditional artillery. You might think that the Demo's other melees would be better, considering they're granted 5% more damage when maxed out, but the Skull Cutter is the only sword that retains the ability to random crit. And random crit, it does. Of course, you require a shield to unlock the damage upgrade, and I get that not everyone wants to swap off their sticky launcher in the name of playing Tank Be Gone, so I don't know, just spam sticky piles? Crit boost them in the late game, that's about as good as it gets. Heavy is more of an anomaly for tank busting. As we all know, or should all know, tanks will mitigate 75% of the Heavy's minigun damage. Now I can't blame Valve for putting this nerf into effect. Tanks would practically be rendered obsolete. But it'd be nice if they made it a bit more apparent, you know? Like a Lakitu when you start driving with your feet. But much like the Demo, we can once again turn to the melees and get some decent results. Buffalo Steak, Warrior Spirit, 800 credits, get to work. Realistically, the Heavy should always be staying up front as he's far more valuable there, but I guess this could come in handy if tanks are really keeping your team down. But again, that 800 credits is giving up a lot of firepower, so make of that what you will. For Engineer, you don't tend to find him on the tank too often, which is weird because, in my opinion, he's better suited for that role than most classes in the game. You'll commonly see newer Engineers whittle them down with the Wrangler, and while the doubled sentry firing speed puts in the numbers, there are better options available. Before we get into the weapons and all that shit, a very common mistake people make is having their sentry too close to the tank's spawn point. Not only will it get destroyed if it collides with the tank's hitbox, but you'll also have more downtime moving that gear up. Not just from your sentry, but from yourself as well. Yes, the best way to tank bust as the Engineer is not to wrangle the sentry, but to let it fire independently while you reach for another weapon. The Widowmaker is most definitely the best option on that front. Like the Beggars, it has a bottomless clip, but unlike the Beggars, it only costs 400 credits to max out. Not only that, but the Widowmaker's 10% damage bonus on your sentry's target is almost universally applicable here. I understand that giving up the Rescue Ranger is a tough sell given all of its utility, so if you really want to keep it on, whacking the tank with your wrench is a suitable alternative. The Engineer really shouldn't be overlooked as much as he currently is. I get it. The less experienced the lobby, the busier the front lines will be, and the Engineer needs to help out there, but if there's no fear of your dispenser going kaput, I would say take the chance. Medic, he doesn't really tank bust. I've done my best to advocate that a medic is far more offensively capable than people give him credit for, but when it comes to tanks, there's not much he can do. Even the shield, though more DPS than his other means, isn't really single target effective. But that's not really the medic's role. He's more so a force amplifier to a competent partner. Tank busting is no exception, and shared canteen spam or a crit scree goober charge will do wonders in this regard. When none of his cooldowns are online, his next best choice is chucking some medicine, which, needless to say, isn't very powerful. But that's fine. I'm not gonna blame a cow for being bad at scuba diving, and I'm not gonna blame the medic for having the rapture potential of a wet sponge. No hard feelings, he's just not built for it. Sniper's baseline methods of dealing with the tank seem inadequate at a glance. I mean, tanks don't have heads. That's kind of a prerequisite for Sniper being viable. But for the fourth time on this list, we find ourselves a secondary and melee combo that'll do the trick just fine. In this case, it's the tag team of the Carbine and the Bushwalker. Same concept. 800 credits into the knife, farm your Crikey meter with the Carbine, activate the charge, start slashing. This combo is actually far more viable than the others, however, because the mini crits provided by the Carbine turn into actual crits with the Bushwalker. Baraka, a massive 200% damage boost, far surpassing the what would be 35%. If you're at a point in the mission where another class can take care of the medics and or AoE down the packs that are needed, I'd say this is a worthwhile strat to take the stress off your team. Though I will say, if you exclusively use the Cozy Camper and as a result don't tend to buy health on kill, make sure you buy it if you're subbing for the Carbine. Not doing so is a very common mistake that'll hinder your survivability greatly. And as for Spy, I don't really want to finish this video off by trying to figure out which piece of dog shit smells the nicest. Spy should pretty much never be on the tank. Even in the most desperate of situations, a battle medic should take priority over you. Unload all of your Diamondback crits if you've elected to use it, but other than that, he should be doing literally anything else. And that's it for every class's best tank busting strategy. If you're trying to pick which class should prioritize the tank, in my opinion, this list right here is the way to go. I didn't add the Skull Cutter or the Airstrike Medic combo because, while good, are usually infeasible the vast majority of the time. This ranking factors in not just damage, but also ammo consumption, and whether or not there are other frontline duties you should be attending to. So if your team is ever struggling, here's your one-stop shop to get things under control. Anyways, if you want to see more MvM content, be sure to drop a sub, leave a like, and do all the algorithm boosting bullshit. Twitter and Discord are in the description, and that's all I got. See ya.